Welcome to WGOL. This is the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. I'm your host, Caden Pounders, and I'm joined, of course, by the coach of the Russellville Golden Tigers, Dustin Goodwin. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Let's talk about last week's matchup against Mars Hill, number one team in 3A, reigning state champs in that classification. I thought, first quarter, stopped them a few times and was able to move the ball down the field a little bit, but ultimately fell 47-19. You knew going in, everyone knew going in that was going to be a tough game, a tough matchup. What were your takeaways from that game?
Well, definitely knew, sort of what they have, the tradition they have, the expectations they have going into the season and their classification, and most people don't believe it. They win one playoff game and they'll be 4A next year. So they're a really good football team, and I look for them to make a deep playoff run and possibly win it all again. They're really good, really efficient offensively, and have three guys that have great speed, and ultimately, they don't do anything to beat themselves offensively. And like you said, I felt like we were able to move the ball up and down the field on them, and then one guy goes the wrong way or make the wrong read or whatever and misstep, and then we get back behind the chains. We're not really beating ourselves from a penalty standpoint right now. It's just an execution thing, and each and every week we'll get more and more experience in practice time with these guys, and 5 new guys up front have to gel, and again only returning one guy offensively, so we're ultimately replacing 10 guys. It takes a little time, and we're impatient. We want things to happen sooner rather than later, and but we're continuing to get a little bit better each week, and hopefully we've got some of those things ironed out going into this game.
Even though the team lost, I thought there were some. Were there any individual performances I think of that stand out? I was thinking of Devin Morris, who came in the second half especially and spelled Taurus Davis. I thought he had a pretty good game. Were there any individual performances that stood out to you?
Well, his was one. I mean, he was our player of the week this week and rushed for 100 yards, and we were glad to see that. And we know we have to run the ball better. And so that's a point of emphasis for us, and blocking things well up front. And I thought we had a few turnovers, but I really thought we played better at quarterback. And one of the turnovers was a ball that bounced off the face mask of the receiver, and we got a little banged up that forced some guys in the game that we weren't quite ready to get that action. And we'll see some of those guys again this week to try to help with that moving forward. And it was hard defensively to find guys that were quote-unquote players of the week, but we did have some moments to where some guys did really good things, and Zaid Hester had a nice hit and had a nice effort play where one of the backs got away and he was able to chase him down and knock him out just short of the 5, and they took 3 downs from inside the 5 for them to score. I think 4 actually, and and Andres Gaspar played pretty well up front, so we had some bright spots for sure.
I said, on the broadcast last week that I thought whatever happened in the result, that this team would grow up a lot, and sometimes you learn a lot more from losses than you do wins. Do you think that was the case? Did you think that your team grew up a little bit last Friday?
Well, failure does reveal your character. And, Monday and Tuesday weren't great days by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought Wednesday was probably the best day we've had in over a month as far as practice goes. And the guys were, had their spirit back, were flying around, having a good time, enjoyed practice. And when they're able to practice and perform that way, things seem to run cleaner. We didn't have near the missed assignments. Thursday was a good morning for us, and it gave us a lot of confidence going into tonight's game.
All right, and we'll talk about tonight's game when we come back. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll get Coach Goodwin's thoughts on tonight's region opener against Lawrence County. You're listening to the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. We'll be right back here on WGOL. Welcome back to the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, presented by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. Coach, you talked about it a little bit this week. First 2 days of practice, Monday and Tuesday, not so great, but Wednesday a really good day of practice. What's been the feeling at practice this week, and how has the preparation gone for Lawrence County?
Well, overall it's going well. I think these guys are really hungry for a win, and really need confidence. And that's going to come from putting a drive together offensively and sticking in the end zone and having some 3 and outs defensively, and hopefully some turnovers. And if we're able to do some of those things, then I think they'll get the confidence that we need and just sort of let loose and play ball, and that's what we're looking for.
What can you tell us about this Lawrence County team? What are their strengths? What are some of their weaknesses? And how do you plan on attacking those?
Well, have a good young quarterback who's able to run and throw it around a little bit, and scrappy kids. A good running back in Tavian that was here a couple of years ago, and do a good job defensively. They're very, very similar to us. I believe that Barry Reach was working with Chris Ballantyne, who's the father of our defensive coordinator Peyton. So a lot of similarities as far as scheme goes on both sides of the ball, and it's going to come down to who can block, tackle, and take care of the football. And so we're hoping to be on the right side of that thing.
Storylines, and I love storylines. Obviously, in my job in games like this, but you're going into this game first region game. Neither one of these teams really like each other. It seems like it's always there's always fans and players, talking during the game, before and after the games. You have, like you mentioned, some former Russell students that over there now. Coach Voss was at Russellville for I think a decade and took that job this past summer. When you go into games like these, what do you do as a coach to try to keep emotions in check and things like that, keep your players from maybe saying one thing too much? How do you keep your players emotionally in check during games like this?
Well, first off, I think the passion comes from how important and the special sport that football really is, how it brings people together. It doesn't really matter, who you are, how much money you got, or who your folks are and family is. It brings people together like no other. So, and any time you have two communities that are close together, they're going to be passionate, and there's going to be overlapping relationships, and that brings out passion as well. So, both programs, both schools want to be the one with the bragging rights. So, like I said, I think that's pretty neat. If they didn't, then this sport wouldn't mean quite what it does in the South. And so I think that's cool, and that's fun to be a part of. We can't really control all the outside noise and everything that's going on. All we can control is ourselves and the way we act and treat people and what we put out there, and ultimately the product we put on the field. And so that's what we've challenged our kids to do. We don't really want them on social media a ton. I know that's hard to do nowadays, but sometimes there's a lot of things going on there that you win a game and you're the best thing ever, and if you lose a game, then you're the worst we've ever had. So we try to block out the outside noise, focus on our family, and control what we can control to get better each and every week.
Start the season 0-2, but those were two non-region games against two good opponents. You go into this one, and it's basically the start of a new season, the region season, and those games are the ones that matter the most. How important is it for you guys to get off to a winning start in region play?
Well, we are going to prepare and expect to win in every game we play. That's the goal, is to win them all. But ultimately for the playoff picture and seeding and purposes like that, the region play matters more than the rest, no matter what the outside noises may think. And this being the first one, it is important. It could be the first win of the season to this point, which we're always expecting to get accomplished, whether it be week 1 or week 8. And then also, like I said, it's for the playoff implications and then the seeding aspect. We need to do well and position ourselves at the top of that thing so that we can hopefully play at home in round 1.
Anything else you want to add about this game, Coach? Are there any injuries or illnesses that fans might want to be aware of going into this game? No,
we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Coach. And good luck tonight against the Lawrence County Red Devils. We'll hope you join us again here on WGOL next Friday night. You've been listening to the Coach Dustin Goodwin Show, sponsored by Russellville Mayor David Grissom. Thank you and good night.